But we will begin with Coach, your reactions on tonight's performance.
Well, first of all, I'm certain that the 2-0 scoreline doesn't reflect the way that the game unfolded. You know, the stats will bear me out on the fact that, you know, we had certainly more openings and opportunities, but it'll also bear me out with the fact that we were nowhere near clinical enough when those opportunities came along, which is, you know, is an Achilles heel that we have at the moment, and somehow we've got to try and find a way to remedy that. But in terms of the way that we applied ourselves, the fact that we come into this difficult field, AstroTurf is, you know, it's very slick, very different to the way that we probably will have to play in too many places, and against a very technically efficient team, of course. I think we limited them to 2 shots on target in the first half, and one of them was a goal. So, you know, plenty of efforts, plenty of opportunities that we were certainly not, you know, clean enough and clinical enough with, but still managing to keep ourselves in a very good, you know, an efficient shape to restrict a good side. So in terms of progression, and that's the way I have to look at it, I think we're moving in the right direction. Do we need somebody who can find the back of the net? 100%.
We will open the floor for questions now. We will begin with Bob Kusek. Bob.
Gary, how frustrating was it that you couldn't get that final punch in there?
Incredibly. You know, we were sitting on the line in the first period. And look, there was a little bit of a game plan, certainly in our mind. You know, the first 15 minutes we expected Atlanta to come out of the blocks and look sharp and look bright. They haven't played for 5 weeks, so I would imagine there's a lot of pent-up energy there, and we had to get used to the surface. You know, a third away game in the space of 10 days, never easy. And the first 15 minutes, you know, really replicated that. But beyond that, there were so many opportunities to get in behind, to stretch that back line that to me looked, you know, a little bit disconnected in that first period, but unable to take advantage of it. And, you know, there's so many other good things going on. However, if you cannot convert, at some point the bow has to break. And whilst, you know, we showed some very, very good signs, it really is a difficulty and a problem for us. And we're just not getting the opportunity to get our noses in front and to change the dynamic of the game.
We will continue with a question from Ray Fields from the Tennessean.
Gary, it seems that first pass, when recollecting that possession and igniting the counter, it really has been kind of the crux and something that Nashville is still trying to develop. For you, is this something that can simply and organically develop with more games, or is this something that you can lead and help kind of fix and tinker with on the training ground in these next couple of weeks around each match that you guys are playing?
The time off Drake has not helped anyone, and then least of all us, a brand new team. You know, I spoke to Randall at half time, and he said, you know, I was expecting Dominic to check off in one of the you know, counter attacks, and he didn't. And I said, listen, just stay positive. You know, that relationship will build, and hopefully you know you get some reward for that. But what I would say is, you know, whilst of course we'll continue to work at that and to try and improve that, one of the bigger concerns I think for me and for the group is that we're not working the goalkeeper enough. I mean, we had 16 efforts at goal, only 6 on target. You know, and there were some very, very good opportunities. I mean, the easiest one to look at is the last one, the last play of the game almost, where David Cam has a nice opportunity to hit the target. Not necessarily a goal-scoring opportunity, but certainly a good sight of goal. We've looked down the other end and seen Pity Martinez smash it in the top corner, and, you know, it smashed into the top layer of the stand. And there you see in a real sort of nutshell, you know, some of the differences in the quality in front of goal. And look, there's no no criticism of the workload put in, some of the quality in possession, and even some of the moments to get ourselves in good areas. But for sure, we've got a lot of work to do in front of goal. And until we can trouble their goalkeeper more often and with more quality, results are going to be difficult to come by. There's no doubt about it.
We will continue with Tim Sullivan from For Club and Country. Tim?
Gary, it seems like your guys might have been having a little bit of trouble passing on the turf, especially guys like Randall and Hani, who have played primarily not in the United States. Did you guys have a chance to get out and practice on the turf? And is there anything you can do when it's the sort of game where you obviously can't choose the surface here?
Well, we did, and we have a turf field to get on. And I spoke to the guys about this before we travelled, and a lot of them said, look, the turf field there is very different to any that maybe we'll play on elsewhere. And what they do here is they water it and saturate the surface, and it is very, very slick, which makes the game completely different. The bounce of the ball is completely different. There's no way of replicating that for us pre-game or in the build-up. And then in the second period, it dries out. And again, it's a very, very different game. And, they control this facility and they play it very, very well. And it would not surprise me in the slightest if they're not saying to themselves, look, if we can get ourselves in front, we'll play on a quick surface and we'll really get and catch them cold. If we can get ourselves in front, the game will slow down in the second half anyway, because the turf's going to be dry. And look, they've got a wonderful home record here, and I can see why. You put 50, 60,000 in here as well, and I can imagine it's an incredibly tough place to play.
We'll continue with Ben Wright. Ben?
Yeah, Gary, it feels like it's becoming a little bit of an unfortunate trend so far in the season, where you'll outplay a team and then end up with nothing. I mean, obviously the result in Portland and then tonight. Do you feel like some of that is just an expansion team getting familiar with itself on the field, or do you feel like there's anything that can be done to remedy that?
I think if you look at if you're saying an expansion team, what immediately springs to mind is a team that is lacking cohesion, understanding, and structure. And I don't think that's us. What we're looking at here is a group that, in ridiculously extreme circumstances, where we've been stop-start, had lots and lots of time away from each other. We're going to take some time, obviously, to find the real sort of pinnacle of our play in any department. But when you look at what's going on in the final third, it's not that we're not creating. It's not that we're not actually a very decent unit defensively. What it is a feel and a sparkle from individuals who haven't played for a long time. And what we're seeing, certainly from our guys, is that lack of goal appreciation. And, I'd be more concerned if we weren't creating chances. I do also think that to maintain confidence in the group, we have to at some point convert. Otherwise, what we will start to see is a group of players that get despondent about the way they're playing and the way that their ability to actually make chances but not get themselves in front. And I certainly don't want that to happen, because we have even bigger confidence issues then. And I think it's far too early to be worried about that, but it certainly is a concern. I wouldn't want to see this go on for too long, given the way that we're performing and creating.
We have another question from Gentry Estes with the Tennessean. Gentry?
Yeah, Gary, kind of piggybacking on that, how do you see this improving? Do you feel like you need a couple of guys to kind of step up and be more confident in putting the ball on goal, or how do you see it changing at this point?
Okay, well let's look at the main areas of creation and just as importantly execution. So if you look at tonight's game, there's a lot of weight put on the shoulders of Dominic Badgie, Hanny and Randall. And for those guys, you know, would we say at this point that they're firing on all cylinders? 3 games after not playing 5 months, I think even the biggest critic of us would be saying that these guys need a little bit more time to find their footing and certainly get into a rhythm. If you look at some of the better opportunities that came along, it was from, you know, working into space and getting beyond and then, quite frankly, running out of quality in some excellent situations and even overloaded situations. We could also point a finger at, did we make enough from set pieces, from corners and from wide free kicks? And yet again, timing of delivery and the runs that are made, you know, the ability to find the right spot, an area that we've practiced and worked on, is not quite coming at the moment. We're just missing that spot. We're just missing the opportunity. So, you know, there's loads of work to be done on this. And as I just said, my despondency comes from playing well away from home and yet getting beat 2-0. Did we deserve to get beat 2-0? No. Did we deserve to get beat 1-0 in Portland? No. But if you don't score, if you don't convert, there's a chance that this happens. And yes, we have to correct this. And yes, it's going to be a process that we have to keep pushing. Do we need some additions as well? Quite possibly. And, you know, that's something that we're constantly looking at to try and continue with our development as a team.
All right, one final question from Drake Fields from the Tennessean.
You mentioned Dom specifically in that kind of front 4 with Hani and Leal, or I guess just that 3 with Hani, Leal, and Badji. What did you see from Badji in terms of his work rate? Was this probably the most active Dom has been in his appearances? Has this, you know, not only offensively but defensively as well, dust-ups and trying to create problems for Atlanta's back line, obviously collecting a pass from Guzan, wasn't able to capitalize on that, but he was a bit of a mischief guy for Atlanta to try to deal with. And then obviously offensively, very early on, he was someone who was on the ball and couldn't connect with Leal, couldn't connect with other guys who were in the box on certain chances, but at least it seemed like he was the most active in this game so far in the season.
Listen, he spearheaded the attack incredibly well in the first half. They changed shape in the second half and brought in Robinson. And, you know, he's a top-class centre-back at this level. And it certainly made life a lot more difficult for Dominic and whoever played in it. But you're right. There were some terrific moments. His movement, his ability to get beyond, his timing, was the pass into him always right, well-weighted, into his stride. I mean, there were numerous situations where, you know, we had an overload and the ball was played behind somebody and it stunted an attack. We got into good positions and the final pass across the goal wasn't accurate enough. There were moments where we had efforts on goal in good positions and didn't hit the target. When we had bodies in and around that area for something that spilled or, you know. So, yes, I thought he was terrific. And his workload and his you know, appreciation without the ball is very, very good. I'm not criticising anything that anyone's done for the team and for the team effort. But at some point, as we saw from Pity Martinez today, he wins the game for him. Did Pity Martinez work as hard as Randall Leal or Dax McCarty or Hani Mukhtar? I would say no. I mean, I might be overly critical. I didn't study him, but I would say no. But he's just won the game for him. And, you know, their style of play allows him to have a little bit more freedom. But when it matters, they've had 6 shots on goal. They didn't have a shot on target until they scored late on. Yet when the moment came along, with ice in his veins, he smashes it in the top corner, finishes the game off. It's over. That's caliber, that's quality. And that costs a lot of money. And they've got 2 or 3 of them in their team. One of them's injured at the moment, and the other one's just won the game for him. So, you know. it's a frustrating situation.
Thank you, Coach, for your time today. We'll be joined by Dax McCarty shortly, so hold on one second. Welcome back, everybody. We are here joined by Captain Dax McCarty. Dax, your reactions on the game?
Yeah, frustrating night. Obviously, being on the road for the third game in a row, we wanted to follow a similar script to the FC Dallas games, but we also wanted to open our game up a little bit more, try to keep a little bit more possession, maybe try to have a little bit more control of the game and then take advantage of our opportunities. But obviously it didn't go our way tonight. 2 moments of quality from a very, very good player from their end. And on the flip side, not enough quality from us in the attack when we have opportunities and moments to break forward and try to score some goals. So frustrating night overall.
We'll open the floor for questions now. Captain McCarty, anybody?
I have a question, Chris.
Go for it.
Dax, I'm talking with Gary earlier, and he was talking about simply just the comparison between a constant work rate throughout the game. Several of you guys pretty much outworked, in terms of work rate, you guys are outworking Atlanta in large parts of the match, if not the entire match. But then someone like Pitti, who has literally 2 minutes of just making sure that he puts the ball in the net at the end, is the ice in the veins, top caliber? Can that be something that you can acquire based off of being fed up, based off of maybe being together more often? Or is that something that you guys are still looking for? How can you possibly kind of switch it and not only have the work rate to beat in Atlanta or whoever you're playing, but also to be the top quality when it really matters, when you get that second of opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the reason why he's the South American Player of the Year a few years ago. He played at one of the biggest clubs in Argentina. He's paid a lot of money to be a difference maker and to score those types of goals. And obviously, Atlanta in general and him have been in a little bit of a slump. I think it was foolish to expect them to not be able to create any chances whatsoever, especially playing at home, motivated after a poor MLS's back tournament. But that's what you pay for, the quality like that. And I think we have that type of quality in our team. We're just not clicking yet in the attacking third. So we have 2 goals from 5 games. I think that obviously that speaks to where we're at on the attacking side of the ball. And it's not just our attackers. It's everyone. All 11 players are involved, all the way back from Joe to the defenders to our fullbacks getting involved in the attack to our midfielders, giving our attacking players a platform to be successful. And then ultimately it comes down to our attacking players having joy and having freedom and playing with confidence. I think we're lacking a little bit of confidence right now in the attacking third. We're getting into good areas. We just aren't super clean and super crisp in the ways we're going about trying to get goals. So I think the chances are going to continue to come. I think we have a good team. I think we have good attacking players. It's just a matter of getting the ball in the back of the net, scoring 1, and then getting a few more to back those up.
We'll continue with Tim Sullivan from Portland Country. Tim?
Dax, obviously a couple of incredible plays by Pitti, like you mentioned. What did you see, especially on the first one where you had just played that beautiful through ball to Alistair, kind of as it came back the other way? Did you have a chance to kind of recover defensively, or did it happen that quickly?
It happened pretty quickly. It looked like there was a guy had time and space on the ball in midfield. PT had been floating pretty much all over the field. He's a guy who doesn't really have a set role. They give him the freedom to go wherever he pleases, and he'd been coming inside, looking to try to get him behind the midfield, try to create chances that way. He wasn't having a lot of success, wasn't having a lot of joy, so I believe he started out wide. I'm going to have to see the goal again, but I think it was a simple ball over the top. In behind our fullback, he takes a good first touch forward and then goes and does his thing 1v1 and has a good finish past Joe Willis. So I think that it's preventable. I think that every goal that we've conceded this year has been preventable. But ultimately, these are things that you have to continue to work on. Good players are going to get into good positions. He's always going to find ways to be dangerous around the box. Then it's just a matter of making a play and standing him up and making sure that, we don't give up a goal there. But ultimately, that's not the reason why we lose the game. I think that you can't expect us to get shutouts every single week. That would be nice. That's our goal. But it's almost impossible for even the best teams in the world to be able to continually get shutouts back to back to back to back. And so we need to make sure that when we do concede goals that are on the attacking side of it, we're backing our defenders up and we're scoring goals and being dangerous on the flip side of that.
We have the next question from Ben Wright with SP Soccer.
Dax, I asked a similar question to Gary, but it feels like you've had a couple matches, the Portland match, the last match against Dallas, and then this one where you were the dominant team for large stretches of the game. And then this one in the Portland match were unable to come away with any points. How does that affect the mood in the group, and how do you go about fixing that before it turns into potentially a larger confidence issue going forward?
You have to continue to work in training. You have to watch video. You have to take the things that you do well in the games and continue to replicate that. I think that there's not a whole lot of difference in quality between teams in MLS. I mean, some teams obviously spend a little bit more money than others, but with the rules in place, you don't have too many teams who are just going to play you off the field. So I feel really strongly about our group of players, the talent that we have, the ability that we have. I think we have 6 or 7 guys who are full internationals, who have played in big games, who have played for their national teams, who have played in Gold Cups, who have played in World Cups. And so there's no shortage of quality on our side of the field. It's a matter of repetition and trying to get on the field as much as possible, playing together, and getting confidence. That's the key. Getting confidence. We need to reward ourselves when we get in good positions. Right now, it feels like in between the 18-yard boxes, we're playing good soccer. We're not giving up a lot of chances. I really, other than PT having those 2 great goals, I don't remember Atlanta threatening us a whole lot. So that's where the frustration really kicks in, is when you have a performance that you feel like you shouldn't lose the game, and you should at least come out of here with a point if you can be a little sharper and a little bit more clinical in the final third. But we're not rewarding ourselves right now for all the good work we're doing. That's the frustrating part. That's the part we have to continue to work on and get better. But ultimately, we have to stay confident. We've had 3 games in a row now on the road, which is never an easy task. We have 1 more against Orlando. So we're going to continue to train. We're going to continue to have confidence in each other. And I have zero doubts in my mind that our attacking players are going to be able to start hitting the back of the net here really soon.
We have one final question from Dre Fields with the Tennessean.
Dex, based off of your experience in MLS, what is the answer to, responding to a counter based off of Nashville's counter or your side's counter? The default, resolution to that, and how does that compare to possibly how Nashville could adjust to making sure that they're not exposed from an Atlanta counter or whatever opponent counter based off of, Nashville's inability to score on their counter?
Yeah, I think it's a matter of organization in the back. We haven't been too exposed in our games this year, teams getting in behind us. I don't remember it happening very often, if at all. I think that our back line is very secure. I think that the work that they do has been very good. If you look at the goals we've conceded, a lot of those goals have been strikes from outside the box, strikes into the top corner, pretty much unsavable shots that Joe Willis has no chance to save. So I think PT's goal is the only goal we've conceded where a player has actually gotten in behind our back line and threatened us and caused us a problem. So the way that you solve that and the way that you fix that is making sure that your back line is communicating to the midfield and making sure that the back line understands when there's no pressure on the ball, you have to drop. You can't let guys get in behind you. Our back line has to be ready to drop together or ready to step up and play PT offside. So these are things that we continue to work on. And it's not just the back line as well. The midfield, we need to be doing a better job of working with the attackers, getting pressure on the ball. A guy can't just be able to pick his head up and play a 60-yard long ball over our back line. One ball beats 8 or 9 players. That's a recipe for what happened tonight, a goal conceded. So we'll continue to work on it. I don't think I don't think this is going to become a trend. I think sometimes good players make good plays and they get the best of you, and that's what happened tonight.
Thank you, Dax. We'll be joined by Daniel Lovitz. Here with Daniel Lovitz. Please, just a reminder, if you have any questions for him, alert me through the chat. We'll begin by getting your reactions on today's game.
I think it's a pretty straightforward one for us. Obviously, incredibly disappointed. This is another game that sort of falls in the category of one where we're very confident in the overall performance, minus a few moments. And those moments are unfortunately represented on the score sheet, where all the good work that we do consistently and have been doing is not. So that is the glaring issue at the moment. Again, we're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We understand it. All considering, not saying that as a cop-out, but more, when you take a step back and you understand what we're trying to do here and what we're focusing on during this phase of the competition and what this year has looked like, we're very happy with what we're putting together. I don't think that's an Atlanta team that's going to be looking forward to seeing us again. I don't think there are many teams that we've come across this year that think that we were an easy game or, that they should have won that game. So that's something that, if anything, we could sort of hang our hats on. But again, it doesn't really do much for us if we're not putting the ball in the back of the net and not getting results. So that's what this is all about. We need to find a way to make that part of it click and to, stop this sort of trend.
We'll continue with a question from Tim Sullivan. Tim?
Yeah, Dan, you mentioned that you do have those couple moments where the opponent gets the payoff. How do you guys change it so that when you have the moments, the payoff comes for you guys as well?
It's a mentality more than anything. You look at our players, you look at theirs. I think we all have good defenders. We have good attacking players. And, in certain moments we have to make sure that, even though we may be creating consistent opportunities and putting pressure on a team, all it takes is really a split second of real conviction and real, as you call it, killer's mentality, or at least I would characterize it as that. For the ball to go in the back of the net, look at their second goal. They break on us. We do a decent job getting back. It seems like the danger is sort of taken out of the situation, and then a guy decides he's going to put the ball in the back of the net no matter where anyone else on the field is, and that's what happened. Credit to him. It was a great strike on the second goal. But, I think in those moments we have to be, either selfish or just have some more conviction. Like I said, I think that'll go a long way. And I think it certainly can be done on both sides of the ball. And as a defender, I think there are certain moments where we definitely need to do better. And, I think the first goal represents that for us collectively. And, the second goal, again, is, more of a very, very well hit ball and, a situation where we're pressing forward, trying to find a goal back into the game. And they break on us, and the guy hits an incredible shot. So credit to him.
That's right. The floor is yours now. Thank you.
Dan, what's your assessment of how you guys are handling set pieces, not handling defensively, but obviously you over the ball, Hani over the ball, you out the corner? What is your assessment of how set pieces are going, whether from dead balls, indirect, direct, or corners?
I think, generally speaking, it's an area where we should be productive. I think a lot of that relies on the guys over the ball, myself and Hani. There's certainly some instances in games in the past, and certainly tonight, where the service wasn't good enough. And there are other times where we do hit a good service into a dangerous area, and it's what we've worked on, and we're not connecting on that first one, whatever it may be. But we do have a lot of height. We have a lot of guys that are comfortable, that are, very, very attack-minded when it comes to those situations. And I think it's just about taking a deep breath and making sure that we execute and recognize that that's a real opportunity for us. And again, I'm very much looking forward to when that piece clicks, because it will, and it's going to be a nightmare for other teams to deal with. So we're going to be patient with that. I think, again, set pieces are very important. I understand that that's a source of a lot of goals in the modern game, but at the end of the day, we don't, it's not the bulk of our work. It's not what we're focusing on. We take time. We allot time for that, of course. We prep for that. We practice it. We drill on it. But at the end of the day, we want to be putting 5 goals in the back of the net every game without set pieces. So it'll be a nice supplement to our attack, but definitely one that we take seriously and think that we can do better on.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you everybody for joining us today. We will see you again on Monday for match day -2 press conference at 2 p.m. Central Time. Thank you for tonight and have a good evening.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.